We've heard a lot lately about income inequality in the United States, with some experts even saying it's now at a historic level. And some polls show a clear majority of Americans believing for the first in a very long time that their children would not have a better life than they do. One of the long-held beliefs to create a pathway to higher income and achieving the American dream is through a college education. But what happens after you complete your degree? What graduates are being recruited to the top-tier opportunities in corporate America? And can the average person break through what's referred to as the glass ceiling that exists in our country's most prestigious firms? That was the topic of a recent article in The Atlantic, and its author, Bourree Lam, joins me from New York to talk about it. She is associate editor of The Atlantic, and her piece is entitled Recruitment, Resumes, and Interviews: How the Hiring Process Favors Elites. A lot of this article, Bourree, deals with your interview with an associate professor at Northwestern's Kellogg School who wrote a book entitled Pedigree: How Elite Students Get Elite Jobs. Is this new?
So Lauren Rivera did this very groundbreaking study about elites, and yes, it is a new book. It just came out last week.
No, is the concept new about elite people getting elite? Most people would think that, yes, if I'm an A student at Harvard, I will get a better job than a C student at San Diego State.
Right. So in that sense, the concept is not new. But I think what is interesting about Lauren's research is that she really digs into the mechanics of how this happens.
And how did it happen?
So what she found from interviewing over 100 HR professionals, as well as being part of an on-campus recruiting team, is that these elite firms really do just recruit from these elite schools, and they look for very specific things that she believes that only very privileged students will have the know-how to navigate. So for example, this could be how to tell stories during your interview and what to have on your resume and how to make a personal connection to your interviewer.
The interviewers are called gatekeepers?
That's right. So much like a college admissions officer or a bouncer at a club, they're the people who decide who's in and who's out in this elite world.
So you're talking about here a kind of closed society.
A little bit. Well, these elite firms in investment banking, management consulting, and law, there's a lot of mannerisms that go into fitting in, and it depends on what your interests are and how you talk to the people who are evaluating at these firms. And I think what matters about these firms is that they offer very high entry-level income salaries. So, for example, at an investment bank, an entry-level analyst can make up to $150,000 a year. Considering that the average median household income in America is just over $50,000, that's a lot of money.
But the firms aren't stupid. So if they're out to hire elite people, the word elite means something special. Well, why wouldn't a firm want a special person?
I think it has to do with what they state their purpose in their corporate culture, which is the logic that we're the best firms in the country, so we have to hire the best students from the best schools in the country. And that logic is a little bit flawed because it takes a lot of privilege to be able to get into these elite schools. So you might not be getting the best workers.
So it's like an upper crust mentality.
A bit. It has to do a lot with how these firms have shifted in their hiring practices. In the 80s, it was solely through personal recommendation. But now the system has shifted to on-campus recruiting, which can start very early on some of these Ivy League campuses.
So it's like better if you have 3 names and your father was successful. How about your grades? How important are your grades?
Grades are important, too. If you ask any recent Ivy League grad, they'll have probably encountered one of these recruitment sessions where they're very competitive, even just for an internship. Your grades have to be top, your social skills have to be top, and you have to be able to talk to these firms in a very specific way where they see potential in you as someone who's going to fit in.
Some of the hiring officials admitted to Professor Rivera that they don't like regional accents. That sounds funny. Why?
They saw it as unprofessional. For whatever reason, a regional accent didn't fly at these firms.
So do blacks and Hispanics and Asians Do they have a strike or two against them going in?
I don't think the firms would overtly say that, and I don't think that their practices, there's anything about excluding minorities, but the kind of stories that they sometimes expect minorities to tell can cause a disadvantage.
So this is kind of a difficult cycle to break. You have to have fair hiring procedures, don't you? I mean, companies
Yes.
want to hire blacks and Hispanics, don't they? Just looking at the population, you'd want to.
Right. I think they would say that too, but if you have these very entrenched hiring processes that rely on class-based social skills and class-based mannerisms that disadvantaged candidates can't learn unless they attend an elite university, then it's going to be very hard to find diverse candidates to make their workforce more culturally diverse.
So, Bourree, what is the conclusion here is that these firms are missing out on some pretty good people by having these kind of standards.
That's right.
Bourree, thank you so much. I'm very interested in reading the whole article.
Thank you. You should read her book, too.
I will. For more information on this, be sure to check Bourree's article, Recruitment, Resumes, and Interviews, How the Hiring Process Favors Elites. You can get it at theatlantic.com. Bourree Lam, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.